Hi guys, I just want to make a quick video to talk to you guys about your final. We are going to have final exam tomorrow. That's Tuesday, May 6th during class time. It will begin at 12:30 and it will end at 1:45. No makeups for the final, so make sure that you are present. I recommend coming early and ahead of time so that you are there for the final and can make the most use of all your time. Um, some quick information about how to prepare for the final. The final will have 6 questions that you'll have to answer in class. You'll need your laptop. You can use your tablet or your phone. However, be aware that those two are not the most ideal ways to access the final. It will be on Blackboard in test format. So I encourage you to bring your laptops. I'll have my laptop as an extra in case anybody needs one during that time. If you're going to use my laptop, make sure that you bring a USB with your examples. What you're going to need is you're going to need to have at least six examples of your best work from class that you've graded, that you've done, um, for each of the 6 areas. I'm going to go over those 6 areas so that you understand what we're looking for. Go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So if you want to see the 6 areas that you need examples for, kind of a little checklist, you can go to Final Portfolio Week 15. The final exam isn't open yet. It will open the day of, which is tomorrow. What you are going to see is the final exam checklist. You're going to see all of these, like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. What does this mean? I'm going to go over each of these really quickly so that you know what you need to bring. So you need one example for these 6 areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You need an example from your work that demonstrates critical thinking. What is critical thinking? It's your ability to analyze and evaluate information from different sources, to assess the validity and relevance of information, and your ability to solve a problem or come up with new ideas. So, can you think of it just one thing that you developed in class that shows one or all of these things? One, some, or all. So you can maybe have an example as, oh, I know how to analyze and evaluate information. I have this that I did, or I have this other thing that I did that does these both things. As long as you hit at least one of these things with your example, you're going to be okay. You need to be able to explain your example. And I'll talk more about that before I end, just kind of talking about these different things. So one example that shows critical thinking. What is critical thinking? It's these 3 things. You need one example from your work in class that demonstrates your ability to do written communication. So what is written communication? The ability to meet the needs of your audience, that serves a purpose, right? I wrote this for an end goal, and that follows genre conventions. Genre conventions are the rules that we have for writing. Everything has a rule, right? Sometimes they're unspoken rules, but we know how to follow them. For example, text messaging has rules, and we follow them. Text message looks and feels different, and we always write it differently than we would a letter to our grandma or an essay for class. These all are different kinds of writing. They have different forms, different styles. They look and feel different because they have different rules, and we know what the rules are. So we follow those rules, right? The way that you develop and design a horror movie is going to look and feel different than a romantic comedy because they each have rules. Romantic comedies always have a clumsy girl that again gets hotter as you go along. A horror movie always has the ethnic minority become the victim of the murderer or whatever, right? These are kind of like unspoken rules. Stereotypical, but unspoken rules. So, what kind of rules did you follow when you were creating something written for class? If you have an example that shows at least one of these 3, you can use it. Make sure it's your best work, not just any, but your best work. One example of oral communication you did for class. So, can you show me an example of oral communication that meets the needs of your audience, that serves a purpose, very similar to written, but now when you presented something verbally or orally with an end goal, that follows genre conventions? Again, speeches also follow certain rules. The way we talk follows certain rules. The way I talk in class is different than the way I talk to my boss, is different than the way I talk to my mom. Each of these follows certain rules that I know and follow in my communication or my oral presentation, and that presents ideas clearly and effectively in oral form, right? So as long as your example hits one of these and you can explain it, you're good. You need one example for visual communication. So can you show us something that you created or did in class that shows you use visuals to meet the needs of your audience? In this case, pictures, video, right? Those are the things we're looking for, more of visual approach. But pieces of writing can also be visual. A flyer that is positioned and designed a certain way, the whole flyer could be a visual, even if there's text on there. You have to think about how are you presenting it so that the eye kind of catches the whole thing, and it's the visual that is communicating. That serves a purpose, right? We created a picture with an end goal in mind, or we created a visual video, something that has visual elements to it, that has a goal in mind. These are created to get the audience to feel this, or to get them to make this change in the world. That follows genre conventions. Yep, even visuals have rules, right? Pictures on Instagram are different than pictures on Facebook, and the way we use them can be different, right? Memes even change in their different placements. So a meme that I send by phone is going to look different. The visuals that I send by my text message with my little messages like happy birthday, those look different and feel different than the memes that I send on Instagram. Um, so yeah, so like a birthday visual looks different than a meme, right? These are different visuals and they follow different rules. And then, of course, using visuals to enhance your message, to improve or and make the message that you're trying to get across clearer or more impactful. So as long as you have one example of your best visual communication that meets at least one of these, you're good. You'll need to explain it. And then you need one example of teamwork. So can you show us something where you created by collaborating with others? I wonder if there's something that's like that, like maybe I'm thinking like the Nova Red thing, but that's just me. Um, examples that show that you helped your peers meet their learning goals. Examples that show you can solve problems with others while respecting their different points of view. So is there anything that shows teamwork that you created by using teamwork? I want you to go ahead and find your best example of that. And what you're going to do with all these examples, they need to be like a physical example of something. You got to show us something. And I'll talk about what if you don't have the thing. We'll talk about that in a bit. But a physical example, you're going to put it on your USB or have it ready to go on your computer, because you're going to upload these examples to your final with everything, with each of these areas. You're going to have to give me the actual physical hard copy of the example. So go back to your Blackboard, download copies of things that you saved, go into your Google Drive folders, get those pictures. If you're gonna do a picture, make sure it's super clear, big, clear, easily readable picture. This last one is tricky. Everyone gets this one wrong, so pay close attention because I'm going to explain what it really is. Everyone thinks that personal responsibility is like, oh, I did my work on time. I came to class every day. I'm a good student. And that's not what personal responsibility is. Remember that these are definitions made by the state. This is a state exam. So what does the state say personal responsibility is? And it's right here, right? It's our ability to look back on the points of views, the values and beliefs of other people. They might be cultural beliefs. They might be beliefs that come from their specific expertise, their background, if it's medical, biological, reading, writing, their field, where they work, the areas they work, or ethical, their thoughts of what right or wrong, to look at other people's cultural backgrounds, their fields, their beliefs of right and wrong, what they think is right and wrong, in order for you to make respectful choices and decisions. So we look at what other people do, and then as we kind of compare and contrast it to each other, to our ideas, we then make choices. Like, based on everybody else, I can make choices that I think are responsible and respectful of other people. Can you think of a moment of a thing that you created that does this, that looks at other points of view, what other people think based on their expertise, based on their cultural backgrounds or their values, their beliefs, what they think is right and wrong, so that we ourselves learn from those things and make choices, make decisions about our own ideas, about how to approach something, that kind of thing. So very different from just I'm a good student, right? So make sure that you're looking for an example for that. Now, you heard me say you're going to have to explain it. One thing we haven't given you is the actual questions. We're letting you know, have an example ready, but you'll need to explain that example. And it's super important that with that example, you are able to explain how you did it. So if you say, oh, I want to use the lateral reading for my example for critical thinking, that's when I was being able to assess the validity and the relevance of information. You can't just say that. You have to tell me also how you did it. What is it that you did with the lateral reading that shows or proves that you're able to assess the validity of information? So you have to get into the details. You have to literally talk about what you did in the example. So you can say, right here, miss, when I was searching this information, I went to Google and I did this. I can't give you that because you're going to have to be the one to say it, right? That goes with everything. For every single thing, you have to explain to us how you did it in that example. You've got to get very detailed, very specific to get the A, right? If you just say, oh, yes, the lateral reading shows my critical thinking, that's an F. You're not showing how. If you say, oh, the lateral reading shows my critical thinking because in the lateral, I assess the validity of information, you're just repeating basically what we're saying. Also, you want to explain how was it that in the lateral reading you were assessing the validity and relevance of information. What did you do during the lateral reading that allowed you to assess that information? Same thing goes with anything else, right? If you're saying, oh, this infographic that I did, I was following genre conventions. How? What was it that you did specifically in the creation of that written communication that proves that you were following genre conventions? Oral communication. Oh, here I was able to present ideas clearly and effectively in oral form. What exactly was it that you were doing within that oral presentation that proves that you were presenting ideas clearly and effectively? You have to get into the details of how you did it in that example. So make sure that you're choosing your examples wisely. Now, I said earlier, what do you do if you don't have an example? Like, oh my God, my oral communication, miss, this was during the times that I would talk to my team lead and I had really good oral communication then, but I don't have anything to show you. I didn't record myself talking to my team leader. What do I do? Show me the outcome of that. We all have things that we got because of the things that we were doing. So let's say I spoke to my team lead, and because of that, I was able to then get my copy editing materials in time. So then show me the copy editing materials, and then talk to me about and in your explanation, right? When you're writing it, talk to me about how you communicated with your team lead in order to achieve whatever you're able to achieve in that thing that you're showing me. I was able to create this really cool infographic because I got feedback from my team lead. And the only way I did that was I had really good oral communication. I was able to communicate with my team lead with a purpose. When I asked for feedback, I had an end goal in mind. I need this kind of help, and my ability to do that is what allowed me to get a really good final visual. So here, let me break down exactly how I asked for help from my team lead, right? And then you'll do that. So show me the outcome. Here's the thing I was able to do because of the good communication, the good oral communication, or the good teamwork. Teamwork might also be one like, how do I show teamwork? I don't have a picture or a video of us working together as a team. But let's say, my NovaRet project. We worked as a team to create that. Show me the project from NovaRet and then explain how you guys collaborated with each other to create that thing. How does that show the collaboration, right? All right, guys, I'm excited for this final. It's the end. It's only 6 questions. Each of these questions is going to ask you about how you did this. You cannot bring in any pre-written stuff. Only your examples on your computer or your USB so that you can transfer them in. We're going to ask you guys, I'll ask you guys to move to the front, and me and Crystal will walk around the room in case you guys have any questions about the questions as we're doing the exam. Remember that we're only going to have an hour and 15 minutes to complete 6 questions. Make sure that you have your examples with you so that you can upload them during the final as well. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. My number is in the syllabus if you need me. Otherwise, I'll have a little bit of availability today between 3 and 3:30 if anybody just wants to walk into my office. I'll see you guys around. Bye.